Welcome back, fellow creators. Today's video is the much requested part 2 of interviewing a content analyst at TikTok. And I will note that a lot of our conversation, a lot of the questions that I ask in these next 45 minutes are actually viewer suggested based off of the comments and the responses from last video, which, by the way, thank you so much for a positive response for. I'm doing my best behind the scenes to line up more opportunities like this to learn more about some of the internals of TikTok. So I'm thrilled that you found value from our conversation. As always, I'll link the timestamps to the different sections of this conversation in the description below if you want to skip ahead. Be sure to give this video a huge thumbs up if you find it valuable. And without further ado, let's talk TikTok. Well, hello everyone. Once again, I have the absolute pleasure to interview a content analyst at TikTok. I have to say, man, it was number one, an absolute pleasure to hear your insights on the platform. The response from our previous discussion was truly unbelievably positive. People took away so much value from the conversation. And I can't tell you all the private messages that I got thanking more importantly you for being willing to come on and just share anything that really helped people piece together the puzzle that really is TikTok. I mean, fundamentally, the process of scaling on the platform is simple once you can understand the different nuances, the complexities of TikTok. And although that sounds kind of contradictory, any information that people receive that can help them piece together that entire landscape was much appreciated. So on behalf of us all, an extended thank you. Yeah, not a problem, man. I mean, like I said, a lot of what I said was, for the most part, just the community guidelines and things like that are just, you know, sadly, I'm the same way when it comes to terms and conditions. I don't want to read every little fine detail print, and, you know, it's, if any way for a clarification and help, like that's the goal. Right on. Well, cool. I know you mentioned previously, right before this, there's a lot of updates that TikTok is kind of issuing out to its employees in the beginning of February. So I thought I'd kind of pre-frame our agenda here. We have some questions about TikTok updates, some account logistics, location issues, a couple nuances of clarification for account authority, some community violation topics, some reposting deleted thoughts, and then we'll conclude just by pulling some Instagram DMs. So I think the first big thing that everyone would love to know is, are there any new additions, any new features to TikTok that you can share that you're in the know of that TikTok is introducing now that we're in 2021? Besides the algorithm update from early January, that's pretty much been it so far, but it has been a nice update, and things are still being worked out, just like with anything of like getting it going. I know that a lot of people have noticed their videos fluctuating in viewership, right, and that is because of it. It's also part of that algorithm update is because there are a lot of bot accounts on TikTok right now. That's kind of like spamming accounts, and it could be like spam accounts as in like actual bots. But then there's also a lot of people who have like 150, 160 or more accounts that they just like use to like spam like their own stuff or follow stuff. And so some of that is to help try and like weed that out, to help make the algorithm basically work better, because it's actual organic interaction versus like 160 of this is like from the same bot. Yeah, and that's why I've always understood too that shares were kind of a big impact for video success, because unlike likes and comments, they can't be artificially manipulated so easily. Like TikTok has mentioned, I'm sure you're well aware, like their transparency center, they tend to track a lot of the links and shares. They know if someone is engaging with that content via another profile or coming to it from, let's just say, an external medium like Facebook or Instagram. It's a really great metric to gauge true interest in a video and vet any sort of, like you're mentioning, bot account issues out there. But one thing I am curious about too is, I know a common complaint, especially in our Facebook group, are like video audio getting muted left and right. Like copyrighted audio seems to be a really big issue on the platform. Any sort of audio someone uploads that's not strictly from TikTok's sound library. Someone recently was Justin Bieber and Benny Blanco's like "Lonely" was on the platform recently, and they just natively uploaded it and it got immediately taken down. So Any insights on the copyrighted audio issue, or what creators can do to avoid these instances? To avoid those instances, just straight up, don't use sounds that aren't yours. Fun fact, I kind of ran into that myself. I posted a video with original audio of mine, but it got taken down because my distributor since they distribute my music, they monitor for those copyrights and all that. We were able to appeal it and get it back because
we basically were like, hey, like, this is my copyright. So, but yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, stick to what's in the TikTok library because the sound will get muted, and it's nothing against like the video or anything like that. It's TikTok trying not to get copyright striked and, you know, potential suing, because we're running into like a lot of right now when it comes to especially like licensing music in general. Labels or whatever, they don't want to miss their dollar, and so like if you're benefiting off of their sound without like compensation directly, they don't want that.
Yeah, and I love your thoughts on this too. I've heard it also factors into the creator fund, as in they're willing to pay more for original audio per creator versus those that are constantly baking off a lot of the, you know, the latest and greatest audio on the platform. Because like you said, those distribution companies, those record labels are trying to take every cent that they possibly can, and paying a creator for using, you know, Olivia Rodrigo's driver's license soundtrack is you know, doesn't seem like a financially responsible action that TikTok would take when it can promote something that's more original.
Exactly.
Let's see here. So I think as far as TikTok updates go, I mean, anything that you can share as far as what's been communicated to you recently, any changes creators need to be aware of, like in the coming weeks?
Nothing in the coming weeks as of right now. Trying to remember what we have talked about over the last little bit, besides like the update I was telling you about. You know, we're just trying to get a handle on it. There is one that is crazy going around right now, and this is more of a warning for everybody. It's not a bad one, but there's been a trend right now to jokingly put 5 years old in your bio. I don't know what creator started it or whatever. We're trying to crack down on that because our algorithm that we use to help moderate, because again, we have billions of users and not billions of people that can monitor every account, so the algorithm does sweep bios for numbers like that. So if you put 5 years old in the bio, a lot of people are getting banned right now because they're like, oh, it was a joke, it was a joke. That's one trend I would just stay away from right now, because we have a lot of people getting banned for that reason, even if it is a joke, and it's just a lot more hassle for both sides to get it resolved. Just be aware that is going around, and don't put a fake age in your bio.
Well, like the age-old policy, right? Honesty is the age-old adage. Sorry, honesty is the best policy, and that holds true with TikTok. So yeah, last question here, really quickly on TikTok updates. So any theories or any insights on the dramatic lack of exposure creators have been dealing with since the New Year algorithm kicked in? I mean, I'm going to talk a lot about this in the update for this next month, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on any rationale behind just that drop in views.
The rationale, from my understanding, and right now it's just all speculation, because again, last time we talked, they keep the algorithm under wraps. Like it doesn't matter if you're like high up and all that, but there are theories going around, and it just has to go back with, you know, bot spam and all that. There is a moderation period now for when videos go up. Like I don't know if people have noticed that when you post your video, 5 minutes later you're like 0 views, like what's going on? Because of this influx of bots and all that, and part of the algorithm change is because that we had to implement that moderation period where it's now like 5 minutes, because there's so many people doing, like, just posting things. With the update, trying to get rid of all these bots and all the inauthentic. I mean, we talked about it with some politics on both sides. After the 6th and then after the inauguration, there was just a lot of videos being posted, so that also helped implement a way of basically just making sure videos and posts that could be dangerous, they don't get a chance to, you know, go there. There's like a 5-minute moderation period where it just makes sure that it's all in good guidelines and all that. So like that's part of like the update, is just trying to catch a lot of that kind of stuff and bots. That moderation thing, that's for anyone and everyone, and it's not, you know, it's not singling any single person out. It's not singling any political party out and all that. It is just an attempt to try and help.
I think this is also a great segue into, you mentioned a lot of duplicated and spamming accounts and bots. What is, I mean, as far as you're aware, again, this kind of factors into the algorithm as well, and maybe this isn't, you know, like you've communicated already, your bread and butter, but what is TikTok's perspective on reposting content or duplicating a lot of the same video? Because here's my understanding, and this is what I talk about.
TikTok has an article that they put out back in June addressing this idea of what kind of a content usually is advocated for by the algorithm. And they strictly say, and I'm trying to quote them verbatim, and I'll link the article below this video. But we don't recommend duplicated content primarily to your same audience, as in if you repost a video, like it is going to only reach a small percentage of the people who saw the original. So does that factor into your likelihood of getting, let's just say your account may be suppressed because you're reposting a lot of the same content, or should creators just go all in on new ideas every single time? So reposting and deleted, or sorry, strictly reposting content, I guess your thoughts on that.
Reposting and all that, that is a huge one. It's not suppressing it per se. It's just, there's just a lot of people who repost the same video all the time trying to get it to blow up. And again, focuses on original new content and ideas. Once in a while, like reposting your like most popular TikTok, that's not going to kill you. But if like you're reposting videos in other creators' videos and all that all the time, like that's just going to be reproducing content, and that there is something that's flagged on the inside where it's like, hey, all this person does is like repost other people's content. They whether it's from Twitch, their own channel, or all that, or just like reposting the same video all the time. Because like, for example, like let's say you have a girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, and you all live in the same house together, and you both film the same video at the same time, but one edits it better and saves the video and sends it to you to post because it's your house and all that. TikTok, there is already a timestamp and a video ID to that original one, and so like those will come back and trace each other as reproduced content.
Like the same video clip or the location at that time?
Same video clip.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so like every video has a video ID. Same thing with the device ID and the user ID. Everyone has their own unique one. So if you keep reposting videos, those will come up, and it will kind of be a knock on your account because, and again, it's not suppression. It's more so they don't want you to just keep regurgitating the same video to try and like regurgitate the same video.
Let's see. So on that thoughts of the do's and don'ts for TikTok accounts too. Practically speaking, and I think this has probably been the number one question after our conversation previously, what really is that short-term or long-term impact of community violations? You mentioned, at least with this example of a video ID, it's not suppression on your profile. So what does that look like if someone is constantly in 1 week getting 3 videos taken down because of violations, deleting content, and what does that path to recovery look like?
Okay, so difference between violations and all that. So like if we're talking like violations like posting bad content, as in like it goes against community guidelines and that creates a violation, you got 3 strikes, and you'll basically get an email saying, and I know I see this all the time and people get really mad, like they'll get a video that's flagged. You're allowed to appeal it, but like if you get a video flagged for, let's say, pornography or something like that, and like it truly has like adult nudity or something like that, and you keep trying to repost that video, I see it all the time. Blow this shit up before I get banned, and it literally is like nudes or something like that. The Sky Jackson sex tape that was going around, a lot of people just kept reposting it because they're like, oh well, everyone else is doing it. 3 strikes on a violation that's against the guidelines and banned. I know a lot of people like to try and say hey, you banned me for no reason, it was my first strike. 9 times out of 10, if it's not that bad, we're gonna give you chances to, like, if it's a violation, like, we'll take it down and then, like, say, hey, like, that's a violation, here's your, like, the email, all that kind of stuff. But when it comes to like stuff like that, where it's like, I would say, like, I guess content strikes, that it's not really an offense, like just recreating another video or like reposting another video, because it's not technically against the guidelines. And when I say not against the guidelines, I mean like it's not like a bannable offense, like unless you spam it a lot all the time, then it is go into the integrity and authenticity tab of your community guidelines, and it basically will say like spam accounts, spam for likes, spam, all that kind of stuff. That's part of the integrity and authenticity. Those kind of content things, it's more so there's not a definable time period. It's more just show with content that you're not breaking the rules. It's just kind of, it depends on a lot of factors whether or not it's quote unquote suppressed. Like I said, it's not really suppression if it's something that, you know, it's a content strike. Produce really good content, produce content within the guidelines and not like reproducing and all that. And it's kind of like, I'm gonna use an analogy like a parent. Like if it's like your first time really doing it and it's your first time getting in trouble and all that, like you'll have like a longer leash to be able to do it in a less amount of time to get in the good graces. But if it's something that you do all the time and you know you do all the time, it's going to be less and less and less likely that it'll be a shorter amount of time and it'll take longer to get in those good graces algorithmically, because if you just keep breaking it and keep breaking it and keep breaking it and then try and get back into it, it'll just take longer than, let's say, you know, you reproduced a video from somebody thinking it was going to be funny and think it was going to work for the account, but then after that you do like nothing else, like never do it again, like you're going to be back in good graces.
I think that emphasis on the algorithmic's good graces is really key, because one thing that I've really started to discover, especially is I'm sure we brought this up in our conversations previously, but over the past 2 to 3 months, we've been taking a look at, with a few friends of mine who are also data analysts, we've been taking a look at over 30,000 videos on TikTok's For You page, and specifically studying a lot of these profiles that have had this mass exposure drop, even when there's been no violations whatsoever, or some with violations. And I will mention too that, you know, there is a lot of emphasis, to your point, on posting content that is top tier in terms of its meeting of TikTok standards in order to really get your content back out there. And what I want to emphasize is that wave of exposure. Like there really is a wave where even though, you know, you wouldn't classify it as suppression, you'll have a series of future videos that maybe it's because they're in association with the videos that were taken down, or maybe it's because there's some sort of common denominator between one of the videos that supposedly put a strike on your profile and the others that you're just not seeing traction with. Consistency with putting out a lot of the right content over, you know, roughly, you know, a 3 to 4 week period does tend to reverse a lot of profiles that were supposedly shadow banned. I know it still is a gray area on my mind. It makes sense, you know, structurally and strategically why TikTok wouldn't want to come out and say there's a shadow ban. And again, maybe that's just something that plays higher up into the algorithm. Someone asked here, they have violations. What's really, I think we answered this, what's the best course of action to revitalizing or bringing my account back to good standards? Oh, and the question here was, do you as a content analyst, do you clear things up manually? Like is there a label? I know we talked about the account tiers previously. Is there a label that you change on a profile to kind of give them a better authority on the platform, or is that something in the creator's control?
It's kind of both. So let's say, and I say both because, like, let's say you know, get a video violation and like a strike actually against the guidelines, and you appeal it. Again, it comes to a real human and we review it. If we find that, you know, it was just a true misunderstanding because an algorithm is not perfect, it is just like a human is not perfect, we can behind the scenes remove that, because if it's a strike like that, we get to see it. And so that goes through review, tickets get sent in to get it removed, all that kind of stuff. The violation goes away and it's like it never happened, versus like a true like content strike or something like that. It's more in the creator's hands to just basically prove that you can keep creating good content, keep creating content that is within the guidelines, more so have a track record of being good more often than being bad. And by that, I mean like preferably not doing any kind of bad content, but we all know that sometimes it is kind of impossible because you're following one of the trends like the silhouette challenge that's really big right now. Maybe you accidentally didn't get as good of a shadow on it that you thought, and you know they see more of you. That can happen. Basically using the most power and the most judgment you can. That's like, if you even have to think about, ooh, is this controversial, and you have already gotten like a strike in somewhere, don't do it. If the kid who keeps getting in trouble does something that could be taken out of context, you don't really get the benefit of the doubt.
Actually, on that note, that was my next question, is there more lenience to someone who has higher account authority? And maybe not necessarily from a point of they have less strikes, but if someone has a more established audience, 1 million followers, is there more lenience associated with what they can get away with versus someone whose guidelines on a video were already violated?
That's a really good question, because that's something that I actually truly don't know the answer to, because there's this. I know we talked about it, but once you get to a certain level like that, you get a community manager. And there's two types of community managers. Like once you get to a certain level, there's community managers that like you can email them, they're a person on the inside, but they handle a lot of other people too. And so like, you kind of have a point of contact to be like, hey, I don't know what's going on. But once you get to the like bigger ones, it's not that they have more authority, but there is an account manager on the inside of TikTok that is watching everything. That literally is making sure, cleaning, like someone dedicated personally to that really, really big one. So I can't say there's more lenience, because once you get to that big community manager and you have somebody that's a community manager, you'd have to assume that there's no lenience involved, because a TikTok employee is making sure that nothing is even being posted or anything like that. I always see it in our side. They're like, oh, I see girls all the time, or I see this person all the time, and they're doing this and they're doing that. And why can't I do it? Again, like, it goes down to context, it goes down to algorithm, it goes down to a lot of variables as to why that video didn't get flagged and yours did. And 9 times out of 10, when I see the people who are bringing up that, well, I did this and I got banned, or this video got violated, 9 times out of 10, the video truly kind of crossed that line and it was a bannable offense, versus like, you know, a person doing a dance in their bikini and they're like, well, she's half naked. Well, it's a bikini and she's by a pool, and the context is she's by a pool and it's summer and she's outside and she's just truly doing the dance, versus like you were in your underwear promoting an OnlyFans while also doing that dance. And again, it's a lot of variables that goes past a algorithm that's imperfect, a human that's imperfect, and again, it's always constantly sweeping billions of accounts that post X amount of times a day. It's not going to catch everything right away, and the whole whataboutism is just kind of like one of those things. It's like, well, what about them? Well, they might be coming too. Like,
yeah, like you said, it's not more lenience, it's just more attention on your profile when you're at some of those higher stages.
And again, like, if you're always constantly getting like account strikes because you're like tiptoeing the line, there's going to be more eyes on you, and there's going to be more ban records, and there's going to be more paper trail to head back to your account. So it's like, you don't get the same grace, you don't get the same lenience.
Another question someone asked is, how is TikTok dealing with doxing people and address leaks? There's been a lot of issues with that. Is that something that you've had to deal with at all, or how quickly does something like that go down if it's caught?
I haven't personally. I know that we have dealt with it, and that is one of those things where it's like, we are reacting as quick as possible, and something like that's a threat to platform security, and you're doxing somebody, I know we've talked about it, a total DID ban, a total device ban, and like the punishment is basically like, whoever did that, even if like that hide behind the account, will block their entire device, and they will never be able to make a TikTok account again.
So speaking on that topic of accounts, one thing that I want to ask for the benefit of several asking is, does TikTok tend to limit a device if there are multiple accounts created on it? Because here's my perspective. TikTok does give the creator the ability to add up to 3 accounts. That's something they've mentioned in a few articles. If you just click that little drop down arrow, you can add plus, you can sign up for a new account, but consistently prioritizing, let's just say 3 accounts simultaneously. Is there any, at least from your perspective, any drawback, any potentially reduced exposure? Obviously not with duplicating the same video, because that's something that isn't recommended, is reposting or duplicating the same content across multiple profiles, but having just multiple profiles. Is there a drawback to that? No.
In fact, we even have it where if somebody like messages in and they're, let's say, hey, I forgot my, you send in, hey, I forgot my password, and we on the inside see that you have like 47 accounts. Our response that we send to you is kind of like, hey, we look at your account and we saw you have multiple accounts. In parentheses, we love that. Please keep doing that. But we need to know that, like, TikTok loves, like, there is no drawback to you having multiple accounts. In fact, TikTok actually genuinely enjoys that. I know we talked about having multiple accounts being spam and all that, where it's basically like you're using it to kind of just like constantly try and build momentum and do all that. But that's, again, context is king. But just having a bunch of different ones and having it for like, well, I have a photography business and I have a musician account, and then I have this funny meme one that I do. Like, that's great. Do it. Have as many niche accounts as you want to, because that's not going to hurt you at all, because it's you still creating content, but it's unique, and you're doing it intelligently by creating different accounts, so that way you have like different niches, and that way you can hit the algorithm the way you need to.
Yeah, and that was always my understanding too. It's to your point, like you mentioned, when it really becomes a situation where you shoot yourself in the foot is where your intention behind creating these accounts is not to distribute, let's just say, a new aspect of your content. It's to artificially manipulate and inflate your own metrics, liking your same videos, commenting, trying to share them. In reality, TikTok can track that. It knows the source, and it's something to be avoided. The other topic that I'm really curious about too, and there's been a lot of theories around this, is the idea of like a delayed explosion on TikTok. That cycle of life where 2 months down the road, your content might be, hit the For You page at scale. And I know this does factor a lot into the algorithm, and this has also been a key focus of our study. But any thoughts on that delayed explosion? Is there like a telltale sign when that happens? Any triggers for that? I mean, any insight there would be
That's actually really cool because that algorithmic point is very similar to a Spotify. It's a cycle. What basically the algorithm is doing is constantly trying to find that group that really resonates with it. So it's just constantly cycling and being like, well, it's kind of like, think about like a Facebook ad. Like at first when you start doing Facebook ads, you kind of make it general. And then you see, oh, well, this group is reacting better than this group. Okay, so now I'm targeting this group. Okay, well, now in this group, this group is reacting better than this one. So it's more so just like a chain reaction of just algorithm trying to constantly find, trying out different variables, trying out different demographics, geographic locations and all that. And so that's kind of like the attribution to it, because it's not in any way is like basically like hindering from you doing it. It's just making sure that each sample size is basically contained enough to actually get like good metrics back, to make sure that you are pushing it to the right demographic, because at the end of the day, TikTok thrives on virality. It thrives on people getting that video, creating that watch time, creating that next new content creator that is just making such great stuff that is like always constantly blowing up. And so the algorithm is just kind of like acting on its own to basically be like, okay, we're not really getting as much resonation over here, let's try it over here. Or like you get a video that does go viral, and then it might go viral again because it tried, it was really popular here in Germany, but now they tried it over in Brazil, and Brazil loved it too. It takes a little bit for that algorithm to kind of catch up with each geographical, that demographic region, just to make sure that it always reaches every user possible. And that's kind of the cycle thing. And that's more so, kind of the same thing with Spotify. Like you'll notice that on a release radar, daily mix or something like that, you'll get something to be like, oh, I really like this song. You go check it out. It's like, man, this song's 3 years old. Why am I just finding it out now? Finally, after 3 years, it made it to you because it made it, your demographic area. It finally hit you, and boom.
Is there sort of like a compound effect with a lot of that data too, where maybe a video just isn't seeing any traction with the views, that view ticker isn't going up by 10 in like a week, and then suddenly it explodes overnight? Like it's all catching up and the data is going to impacting your video? Or is it all like you'll know when a video is getting sampled worldwide because you'll see that view count increasing? Because like a great example was one video that I had, actually the audio is now muted now because it was a Ratatouille soundtrack that was taken down. But the video was, sat at a stagnant like 70,000 views for 2 months and then blew up one day. Ended up climbing in with like a day to 700,000 followers and just stopped. And so I'm curious, like it was again like that compound effect and then like a release at the very end. So is that pretty typical for one of these delayed explosions? Or will you know when it's being sampled, let's just say worldwide?
You'll know because it'll be a gradual. It can also vary too. Like let's say, 2 months down the line, for your video example, hits a demographic that works great, starts blowing up, 70,000 more views and all that, but then they start pushing it out to another demographic, and it's just not the same like demographic needed, so the views are going to drop off. And if the views start dropping off and the interaction rate goes down, it's kind of like any kind of algorithm. It's like the algorithm is going to push it to more people if the engagement just completely drops off because it's just not hitting the same one. So it'll be like, okay, cool, like now we'll wait a little bit and see how it does.
So keyword there that I want to highlight, you mentioned the interaction rate, and this is something that I really want to commend TikTok for with the new analytics that they've given people when it comes to the watch time or even the view ratios. You can now see, especially in the last day or so, the timeline if they're decreasing. A buddy of mine who just got his first breakthrough video over 1 million views, had mentioned that I think in the past 2 or 3 days, it had now bumped up by like 3 seconds on the watch time, which is, you know, for any of you who've had the viral videos, it's rare once you get over 1 million views to actually see those metrics increase. I mean, that's really what separates the great videos from simply the good videos is if you're able to stay consistent with a certain metric or increase it. Not really much of a question there, but I just want to say those analytics have been very, very insightful for understanding if a video is doing good or the lack thereof.
That's kind of like, again, we've talked about it many times before. What makes TikTok so great, in my opinion, is that it truly does reward great content and stuff that resonates with people. It really can make you go viral overnight, like legitimately.
So let's spend a few minutes on the idea of the geographical locations on TikTok. So I mean, we all know TikTok is extremely geographical based. Where you create your account is primarily where you're going to influence initially. How can you? And I'm just curious hearing your thoughts on this, because you know we've certainly talked about our own theories on the YouTube channel, or at least I have. But how can you change the location, and how does that like content distribution process work? Because here's my understanding, then I'll let you take over. You know, with TikTok, especially back in the early days of 2020, you could get array with you know, a VPN and a SIM card. It would work really well. Many coaching students are using that, and still to this day having lots of success. Now it's a little bit harder. You see a lot of people not having an effective success with VPNs or SIM cards. But the other thing too is, you know, once you start, like you mentioned, even with the sampling videos for the best audience with the delayed explosion idea, when a piece of video, when a piece of content starts to go viral, it is going to tap into other regions. One great example is a band that I work with from Amsterdam in the Netherlands, where our first breakthrough video over 1 million views started influencing like US audiences, UK, whereas every video before that under 1 million just never reached those territories. So is that pretty standard for an account to start sampling once it starts hitting certain thresholds, or is there something a creator can do natively to maybe kickstart that process?
Yes, and you know, it's kind of like you said, it just cycles and all that. Other ways to try and do it too, and this is more so from something that I've discovered personally as a content creator, trying to hit other regions. Like let's say, you know, they're in Amsterdam and all that, and they probably hashtagged everything in their native language. Like I noticed I was able to hit Germany more because I started using for dich. Which is the German translation for you. You actually can target the audience you want by using hashtags in native languages that you're trying to hit. So let's say, you know, you're trying to do a comedy video, you know, that is more towards like Spanish-speaking people out of Mexico. Like look how they hashtag, because even like Spanish with different dialects and all that, there's different ways to say certain things. So using hashtags that are, you know, definitely more dialect to that one can actually help you enter that market with your content just by using those hashtags. Because I know we've talked about it before, that they're a really good way of just basically categorizing and helping the algorithm basically hit it.
Yeah, gotcha. Let's see here. So a lot of other users and comments below our previous video were really intrigued by the account structure that you talked about, the different tiers, the NC test, the standard account label that a lot of new creators have. What is, and this is, I'm sure, like the $65 million question internally within TikTok too, but what is necessary to move on to the next tier? Is it based on, is there a certain threshold of engagement that people need to hit, like a 10% ratio on one video? Does the next video need to double 50% the previous engagement from, you know, the video that was just posted yesterday? Like, is that a manual change that you make internally for a profile, moving them on to, or assigning them like top creator? Just curious a little bit more about that process. How does that authority ranking work?
To get to that next level has to do with your content. Getting, like, let's say you finally reached that like 10,000 follower mark, you had a video go very viral and all that, but you have one go viral and then the rest aren't. Basically, you need more consistency of basically hitting that same tier with that same kind of video, with the same kind of viewership and interaction rate consistently to kind of start moving to that next level. You're not gonna get verified because you went viral on one and you ended up getting like 100,000 views on one video, or like, you know, 100 million views or whatever on one video, and being like, oh cool, like I got so many followers from that one, now I'm gonna go, you know, I'm gonna get verified, I'm a real content creator now. Right now, if you're consistently hitting like 10,000 views on videos, you're gonna notice that you're engaging and you're building, but you need to get to the next level, you need to hit that viewership engagement ratio consistently for the next one and kind of go from there. So it's more so just making sure that you have consistent content at each level to be able to start moving up and moving on from each of those tier levels, essentially.
And that's all in the creator's control, correct? It's not like there's a review process for the profile overall by maybe someone such as yourself who assigns them the next level. It's kind of sequential. It's all automated.
Yes, it is all sequential. It is all that.
Gotcha.
I know these question and answers aren't as sexy as what, the kind of like the free form open one that we were doing last time, but these are honestly great questions from everybody, and they're really, it really shows me that your audience is very focused on creating content legitimately and creating their accounts to like really, versus like I kind of expected when we talked and you're like, I have a lot of questions. I expected a lot of how do I become famous one, like what can I trigger? It's like these are like very insightful questions that are like building blocks for creating, a good career out of this. So like commending to anyone that has been sending in those questions, because these are great.
Yeah, I know. I appreciate that. And you're absolutely right. The credit does go to the community that is really trying to not just understand TikTok in principle, but also practice as well. But I will say, there's no shortage of people out there looking to get TikTok famous. But when it comes to your intentions with TikTok, fundamentally developing an intention for scaling far beyond just, a million, that K or that M initial added to, 100 on your profile, I think is really what separates a lot of great creators from those that tread the waters with the same ideas over and over again. So yeah, I know I'm not looking for even if we don't come to any conclusion here, it's this discussion and having these ideas in the back of people's minds as they start to be aware of the creative process is absolutely gold.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I'm trying to give as much that I have as possible, that one, I'm allowed to say, and then two, that I know. Because again, what makes TikTok so good is the fact that they do keep a lot of things close to the vest. It stays as pure as possible, and really just making sure that TikTok is the last great user-driven social media, because we've seen what happened to Twitter. We've seen what happens to Instagram. Instagram got bought out by Facebook, and they were like, oh, people want to be able to see their content in numerical order. If you want your post seen, you better pay those ads. And if you notice that if you ever see a sponsored post on TikTok, you'll notice that the comments are disengaged, because TikTok is all about organic. Paid in-your-face ads don't ever really tread well, so that's why they always have their comments turned off. The paid sponsorships, you're basically, when you turn off the comments and stuff like that, you kind of are cutting off parts of your interaction, so organically it doesn't resonate as much. Like, yes, it's being pushed out to all the people, and there are being views, possibly, but with anybody with a sponsored ad on any platform, how often do you watch the whole thing unless it's like truly remarkable? And so it's one of those things where I know some musicians have done really well doing it by just like sponsoring one of their videos of a song they were like really proud of, and like it does really well because it engages people. Any
potential, speaking of the money and the financial opportunities on TikTok, are there any upgrades coming to the creator fund potentially at all? Because I've heard a couple of them like through the grapevine, just a couple like new additions to the creator wallet and a few other renovations there.
Yes, a lot of stuff that is coming out that is not like confirmed. But I am going to say there's going to be a big emphasis going forward. Join the creator portal.
Yeah, that's going to be my update video coming next. Yeah, the creator portal really being sponsored on TikTok as well with the hashtag. It's
super sick. You guys are going to really, really like what's coming on. Again, TikTok really, shows up and shows out for their creators. They really want excellence, and they really want to, give them greatness. So it's one of those things where I implore you, if you haven't yet, join the creator portal. I know a lot of people are just like, I joined the creator fund and now my views aren't doing it and all that. It's like, we're not, if you join the creator fund, we're not going to suppress you because now we're trying to pay you. We wouldn't invite you to the creator fund if we didn't want you to be making that money on there. Views will vary all the time depending on the video. You could be making the same great content and the same thing. We've talked about it, upgrading light, upgrading what you do, position and all that. Some things will do better than others, and it's just the luck of the draw. And that's why consistency is just like putting it out there and all that, because if you consistently have like great stuff, like eventually the algorithm's going to catch up and it's going to hit your audience, and then all these videos are going to start hitting that audience, and then you're going to start seeing boom, and you're going to be like, oh, that's really cool. Like, all my videos now are like consistently doing this because now the people on your For You page are like truly your demographic, and it's just going to take some time. I know it sucks. Everybody wants like to hit that viral and do it. I know I'm the same way. I would love to, you know, go viral for what we've talked about on mine. But at the end of the day, I enjoy creating TikTok content, and I know a lot of people do, so just be consistent and enjoy the process, because a lot of stuff is coming through the creator portal and the creator fund that is going to make it, you know, it's going to be really cool, because essentially in the next couple of years, if things go well, we're talking about people minimum wage be able to support themselves just by creating TikTok content, because that's where they're trying to go.
Yeah, an emphasis there. Last thing I want to highlight before we move on to just like, you know, 4 or 5 just questions here from Instagram. But yeah, really, I think one important nail that you hit upon there is the idea that the algorithm will catch up, because this is one thing, especially when we're taking a look at, and we're getting like a lot of conclusions, taking a look at 30,000 different videos and over like 400 profiles from people in our group. But one of the things that's really become obvious is the fact that the algorithm really does come in waves of exposure. Like even a lot of these top tier creators, and there's been a couple interviews that we're going to sample in the video, just talking about this entire study. They've referenced that even at those top tier levels, like they will have weeks where things just aren't doing well. It'll be 50% their normal ratios that they receive on their content. No one seems to catch on to that, because again, 10 million views, which is a bomb for them, is a pipe dream for any average creator on the platform. But at the same time too, like you mentioned, that consistency is key. It sounds cliche to say the platform is going to reward frequency. Couple questions here as far as new updates to the platform. Will we ever get age-based demographics for our audiences? Is that something you can answer? Any talk about that?
I haven't heard anything about that. I know I know Instagram has like age-based demographics on your analytics where it shows. As of right now, TikTok does not, and I haven't heard anything of a new update that way. It could be coming.
Any on that note, any way of getting in contact with TikTok directly besides like, you know, creating a support ticket for suggesting ideas? I mean, I don't know of anywhere where people at scale can amass like that.
Send it to feedback@tiktok.com for your ideas and all that. Like we do have that email. It's a good one to just send it for general feedback, and then also ideas. And that's actually an email, not a ticket on the app.
Another question here: does your username matter? Does that factor in being placed on the For You page? And here's my quick understanding of that is, you know, in general, just from you know, I guess human psychology perspective, the shorter and the less confusing it is as far as, you know, removing any numbers, periods, underscores, like the easier it is going to be remembered. You know, does that factor in at all for TikTok success as the exact username? Or I'm sure like impersonation, like that's something that goes against the community violations.
Impersonation accounts, yeah, those are especially if it's a political person, like. But no, the only time a username ever comes into effect at all is if you have something like yeast infection 69 blow my brains out. If you have like a very offensive name, like sadly that is a name we have seen. But besides that, like if you have like user with, you know, the automated user one where it's like 934-700 blah blah blah, that's not going to affect it. No.
Yeah, it just affects the likelihood of people finding that account again if they try to remember the video that they saw on the For You page, right? The shorter the better. Let's see here. So last question, does going live more often help with account authority? What are the benefits to going live? Is there anything there? I mean, I've got my insights that I've shared in previous videos, but anything that really factors in some of the do's and don'ts of utilizing the live stream feature?
So it doesn't affect account authority, but it is a great way to build an audience. What's really cool is that if you have interacted, you've seen a video of that person at all, it will appear on the algorithm, and you will get a notification. You do get a notification. It goes out to your followers, letting you know they're going live, other stuff. And if you're scrolling to the For You page, sometimes you'll pop on somebody that you would interact before, and you'll see they're live, and you'll do that. So it's more so, the benefits are you can definitely reach your audience and reach people that you had seen before. And when you're going live, you get a lot more personality. When it comes to the don'ts, same thing as posting any kind of content. Make sure you're in those community guidelines. Don't be sitting there smoking weed. Don't be sitting there almost naked, or like we've seen people get banned and period, because they decided to watch hentai for their entire users. And if you know what hentai is,
yeah.
If it's a bad enough offense, like not just your Live will get banned, but your account will get banned. Live is such a great tool because it can really truly help you reach your audience, but it has the same, watch out factors on it, because you don't want to post like controversial content, like you showing up with a gun at all. Like,
yeah, and on that note too, I think one of the main benefits of the live stream is how much it cultivates audience retention. Because when it comes to your creative process on TikTok, there's really two ways in which you can divert your attention and efforts as a creator. You've got audience attraction. What can you do with your content in order to reach people at scale? Like in marketing, we call that cold audience, new eyeballs, and then you also have your efforts, the features that TikTok gives you that helps you cultivate your community, the audience retention. And that's a hack that I haven't actually touched upon in a few videos, is when you have a video on TikTok that's doing really, really well, go live during the duration when you see the most traffic on your profile. Because when people see that little avatar on the For You page and it has that live ring around it, you don't see that plus button. You click on that, you go onto someone's live stream. And especially if they're engaging with their audience while they have a video on the For You page that is scaling at, haven't seen a lot of traction, you can really, really cultivate a quality audience there, because like you said, you see more of the real you. You can convey more authenticity, even just answering questions, than you can in, a 60-second time cap. But yeah, man, I really appreciate this opportunity. Again, it's been so insightful for me. There's a lot of things obviously that we couldn't answer when it comes to even shadow banning or some of the nuances of the algorithm. A lot of this I think just needs a little bit more study. Neither of us claim to have all the answers, but it's efforts like this, conversations like this, that brings us one step closer to understanding the platform. So, I say this on behalf of myself and the entire community. We appreciate this opportunity.
Dude, not a problem, Joseph. Like I said, I found your content because it's so well done. Your community is great. You really know what you're doing, and you really know how to really drive positive community. And so for that, of course, I'm down to help. You're a great dude. Love these conversations.
Sounds good, man. Well, hey, enjoy the rest of your day. And of course, we'll stay in contact with your own profile and your own creative efforts.
All right. Yes, sir. You have a great one.